The door was half open. He should have closed it. I heard him before I saw anything. A soft laugh that I recognized, Serafina's laugh, the one she used when she wanted something. I pushed the door. Ren stood by the window, pulling at his tie. Serafina was on the velvet settee, adjusting the strap of her dress. She looked at me first. Her lips curved, just barely.
Sienna. I should...
Stay. She was going to find out eventually.
Find out what?
That you're a placeholder.
He smoothed his tie with one hand.
Marrying you was never about you. It's about your father's will, the one that gives your husband control of the Moretti estate.
A naive little vase like you? You really think you could be a mafia donna?
The word hung there. Vase. Decorative. Empty. Did you plan this together?
Don't make a scene. Go back to the party. Smile. We'll talk about this tomorrow like civilized people.
I turned around.
Sienna.
I didn't stop. The hallway stretched long and gold. Someone called my name. A cousin, maybe. I kept walking. The night air hit my face. I stood at the curb and realized my hands were completely still. Just still. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I'd memorized years ago but never called.
DeLuca residence.
I'd like to speak to Cassian. Tell him Sienna Moretti is at his gate. And I have a proposal. The DeLuca estate sat behind iron gates. I sat in the reception hall for 17 minutes.
You're still wearing the engagement dress.
Negotiations work better when they're fresh. I have a deal for you.
I'm listening.
You want the Morelli East Side docks? My father's territory maps. The routes Lorenzo's been moving product through since January. I can give you all of it. Access codes, watch rotations, the names of every captain who's unhappy with Lorenzo's bootership.
Why would I start a war for a woman I don't know?
Because next week, my father's will transfers full control of those docks to Lorenzo. Without me, you get nothing. With me, you get everything.
Continue.
From the shadow behind him, an older man stepped forward, broad shoulders, Slavic features, Victor Volov, Cassian's Goncier.
She's either a genius or poison. I can't tell which.
Cassian picked up his glass again.
Good. I need both.
I drove home at 2 a.m. My phone buzzed as I unlocked the door.
Where did you go? We need to talk about the seating chart for the reception.
The seating chart. I stared at the message. Read it 3 times. He'd been inside Serafina 2 hours ago, and now he wanted to discuss table arrangements. I didn't reply. Then I walked into my father's study. His desk was exactly as he'd left it 6 months ago. I knelt beside the bottom drawer and pressed the hidden clutch he'd shown me when I was 16. Just in case you ever need it, Piccola. Inside, a leather folder. Inside that, the real Moretti books. Every offshore account, every bribe, every skeleton my father had collected over 40 years of running New York's oldest family. The will was a decoy. This was the inheritance. My phone buzzed again. You looked beautiful tonight. I set the phone face down on the desk. Pulled out my laptop. I have more than docs. Call your accountant. We meet tomorrow. At 11:43, I stood outside a rusted steel door in the industrial stretch of Red Hook. The air smelled like salt and diesel. No jewelry, no lipstick. Not today. The door swung open before I knocked. Victor. He didn't greet me, just stepped aside. Inside, Cassian sat on a wooden crate, reviewing something on a tablet. He didn't look up. You said you had more than docs. My father's real books, every transaction, every payoff, every name.
Lorenzo doesn't know this exists.
No, he thinks the will is everything.
What do you want in return?
Lorenzo ruined. Serafina destroyed. And I want to be in the room when it happens.
And after?
After, I don't care.
Problem?
Not anymore. Cassian's warehouse became my second office. Over the next 3 days, I met with Victor twice, Cassian once. I handed over shipping schedules, patrol rotations, the names of 3 Moressi captains who had been underpaid since Lorenzo took over operations.
She's thorough. I know.
were smarter than anyone knew. He said Lorenzo would find out the hard way.
He pushed a USB bop across the table.
All of it. Every liara Lorenzo thinks he hid. The Serafina accounts. The fake invoices. He's not who you thought he was, Signorina.
Marco crossed himself, said nothing. At the door, he touched my arm.
Your father also said, if you ever need a witness, I'm still here.
I nodded once. Walked to my car. Sat in the driver's seat for a full minute. Before starting the engine. Lorenzo was waiting in my apartment when I got home. He sat on my sofa like he still belonged there. One arm draped over the back. A glass of my father's whiskey in his hand.
You changed the locks.
You noticed.
Serafina told me you've been cold lately. She's worried about you. Weddings are hard. I know I've been busy, but that doesn't mean I don't care about you, Sienna.
I watched him performed.
I want us to be okay. I want you to stop acting like I'm the enemy.
You're not my enemy.
Then what?
You're not important enough to be my enemy.
You've been spending time with someone.
Excuse me?
You leave early, come back late. Victor Volov was seen in Red Hutch 3 days ago. Are you seeing someone, Sienna?
I'm tired, Lorenzo. Let yourself out.
Sienna.
Close the door behind you. I walked to my bedroom. 10 seconds later, the front door clicked shut. I stood at my window and watched him get into a black sedan. Watched him sit there for 3 minutes before driving away. My phone buzzed.
Cassian DeLuca. Marco's evidence is clean. We have enough to start. Tomorrow. Morelti family dinner.
Lorenzo at the head of the table, where my father used to sit. I wore red. Cassian's instruction. Serafina sat across from me, in pale pink. She kept touching Lorenzo's arm when she laughed.
Before we begin, I have news. The DeLuca family has requested a negotiation. Eastern docks. Shipping terms. Then he's met his match. Sienna, you'll attend as my fiancé. Show them we're united.
Of course. Serafina's smile tightened. After the main course, I excused myself to the restroom. Serafina followed. She checked her lipstick in the mirror beside me. You look tired, sister. I'm fine.
He's worried. I told him you're probably just jealous.
Jealous of what?
That I'm the one he actually wants. He told me, you know, on the night of your engagement, he said being with you felt like a transaction. A signature he had to sign before he could be free.
Are you finished? Serafina's smile faltered.
You think you're above this? Above me? You're not. You're just the last person to know what everyone else already sees.
I stood alone in the restroom. Counted to 10. Then I pulled out my phone and texted Cassian. The negotiation was set for Thursday. Neutral ground, a private room at the Whitmore Hotel. Lorenzo wore a navy suit I'd never seen before. Serafina had probably picked it entered. Caspasian walked first, silent, as the DeLuca behind him. 2 other men I didn't recognize.
Lorenzo Bianni, you've been busy. Business grows. Shall we?
They sat on opposite sides. I took the chair slightly behind Lorenzo, the fiancé's seat. Victor opened a leather portfolios.
Eastern Docks. You want 70% of the shipping revenue. We're offering 40.
The docks are Moretti territory. 60. 45.
50. Final offer. The docks are Moretti territory. 60.
45.
Your fiancée, does she always sit so quietly? Sienna doesn't involve herself in business. A mistake. I've heard she's sharper than she looks.
I lowered my eyes, let the silence stretch. Then, very softly, the Eastern route has its inspection checkpoints every third Thursday, rotating shifts. The 45% figure doesn't account for that loss margin.
What?
I read the reports, the ones you leave on your desk. You should really lock your study.
40%. Final. Take it or the conversation ends.
Fine. 40.
Afterward, in the hallway, Lorenzo grabbed my arm.
What the hell was that?
You told me to attend, to show unity. I helped.
That wasn't help. That was... You made me look weak.
You made yourself look weak. I just didn't save you from it.
Nice work.
Next time will be better. 2 days later, Serafina asked me to coffee. She chose a cafe in Soho. Exposed brick, tiny tables. The kind of place she posted on Instagram with captions about self-care and new chapters. I'm glad you came. I feel like we haven't really talked since the engagement. I sat. I wanted to apologize for that night, for you seeing that. It wasn't planned. I never wanted to hurt you. You never wanted to hurt me? No. Lorenzo and I, we have something I can't explain. I fought it for so long, Sienna. I really did. I watched her perform. The trembling lip, the clasped hands. Does he love you? He says he does. But you're not sure. You know how men are. They say things. That's why I wanted to meet. I thought maybe we could help each other. Help each other how? You keep the ring, the wedding, the name. I'll keep him happy on the side. No one has to know. Everyone wins. I looked at her for a long moment. You want me to be your cover story. I want us both to get what we deserve. You get to be Mrs. Bianchi. I get everything else. Be realistic, Sienna. This is the best offer you'll get.
Sienna!
You should have asked for more, Serafina. My phone buzzed before I reached the corner.
The Serafina accounts. Marco's evidence. It's all verified. Ready when you are.
I typed back. Saturday. The family gala. All of them in one room.
And Serafina?
Destroy her. Saturday arrived like a blade. The Moretti annual gala was held at the plaza. 300 guests. Press outside. Chandeliers dripping gold. My father's name on every program, even though he was 6 months in the ground.
We need to talk.
Now isn't the time.
Now is the only time. You've been different. Cold, distant. And then that stunt at the negotiation.
You mean when I helped?
You undermined me. In front of Cassio De Luca, in front of everyone!
What do you want me to say, Lorenzo?
I want you to say you still love me. I want you to say we can fix this.
Fix what?
Us. Everything. I made mistakes. I know that. But we can still...
Did you love her? Serafina. Did you love her? Even a little?
I don't know. I thought I did, but now...
Now she's not enough either.
Sienna!
I loved you, past tense. I loved you until I realized loving you was embarrassing.
You're not gonna forgive me.
No.
Then what?
I'm gonna walk into that ballroom, and you're gonna watch everything you built fall apart. And I won't even have to push.
You're really going to do this?
Didn't answer. The ballroom hummed with polite noise, crystal glasses, laughter. The orchestra played something soft and forgettable. I found Cassian near the bar. Ready?
Ask me after.
Serafina stood across the room surrounded by 3 women from the charity board. She looked like she belonged. She didn't. At 9:15, the lights dimmed slightly. A projector screen descended from the ceiling. The room murmured. This wasn't on the program. Lorenzo appeared beside Serafina. His face was pale.
What's happening?
I don't know. The screen flickered. Bank statements appeared first. Serafina's name, account numbers in the Caymans. Transfers from Moretti family accounts. Dates, amounts, authorization codes. Gasps rippled through the room. Then the emails. Screenshots. Serafina to a known forger. I need the signature perfect. He won't notice. The forged will pages, side by side with the original. My father's signature version slightly wrong in 4 places.
This is fake! Someone fabricated—
More slides. Her text to Lorenzo. Once the old man dies, we'll have everything. Timestamped. 3 days before my father's heart attack. The room had gone silent. I stepped forward. These documents were verified by 3 independent forensic accountants. Copies have been sent to the district attorney's office.
You can't—
I already did.
Say something! Tell them it's not true!
You told me the will was real.
It is real.
You forged his signature. You told me he signed it before he died. You lied to me.
Serafina's mother, my stepmother, stepped forward. Is this true?
Mother, I can explain.
Did you forge your father's will?
He wasn't my father!
Get out. Get out of this house. Out of this family.
Serafina looked around the room. Found me.
You did this.
I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She walked out alone. No one followed. The room was still recovering when I walked to the center of the dance floor. Thank you for attending this evening. Tonight was meant to celebrate the Moretti family's future. Instead, I think it's appropriate we acknowledge the truth. My father built this family over 40 years. He made mistakes. He made enemies. But he never lied about who he was. Some of you have been loyal to his memory. Some of you haven't. Effective tonight, the Moretti family will operate under new leadership. Mine, in partnership with Cassian DeLuca. This is my decision. It is final.
You can't do this! We have an agreement! An engagement!
The engagement is over.
You can't just—
I can. And I did. That's the difference between us, Lorenzo. You talk, I act.
You planned this. Both of you. From the beginning.
From the night of our engagement party. When you called me a Vas.
Security will escort Mr. Bianye out. He's no longer welcome on Moretti or DeLuca property. 2 men in dark suits appeared beside Lorenzo.
You'll regret this. Sienna! Please!
Don Sienna Moretti, that has a ring to it.
Not Don Sienna. Just Don.
3 months later, Serafina worked the morning shift in a dress at a grocery store in Brooklyn. She wore a blue smock. Her hair was pulled back with a drugstore clip.
A customer flipped through a magazine at the register. Vanity Fair. Sienna's face on the cover. The headline read, "The New Queen of New York." That'll be $14.67.
The customer, a woman in yoga pants, bored, glanced at the cover.
She's gorgeous. You following her story? Girl got screwed over by her fiancé and her sister. Now she runs the whole city. Goals, right?
Cash or card?
Card.
Serafina.
Break's over.
She put the magazine back. Her phone buzzed in her locker during lunch. A text from a number she didn't recognize. The caption underneath tells everyone you're studying abroad. She doesn't mention you're not coming back. Serafina deleted the message, deleted the photo. Then she sat on the bench in the break room and stared at the wall. Until her 15 minutes were up. Outside, it started to rain. He walked home wet.
One year later, Lorenzo Bianchi lived in a one-bedroom walk-up in Queens. The radiator clanked. The window faced a brick wall. He'd stopped noticing the smell of someone else's cooking seeping through the vents.
His phone buzzed at 7:03 a.m. He reached for it. The screen glowed with a news alert.
He opened the article. On the kitchen counter, a stack of unopened envelopes, final notices, collection agencies, the Serafina debt, because her mother had sued him too, for fraud, and won. The radiator clanked again. He didn't move for a long time.
The DeLuca estate was quieter than I'd expected. I'd moved in 3 months after the gala. My father's townhouse was sold. The money went into a trust for Marco Vescoli's grandchildren, for the families of loyal Moretti men who'd been pushed out under Lorenzo. I didn't want the house. I wanted what it represented gone. Cassian found me in the study at 11 p.m.
You're still awake.
So are you.
The Genovese shipment arrives tomorrow. Victor wants to know if we're using the eastern route or the new one.
New one. The eastern docks need to sit cold for another month.
Agreed.
What?
Nothing. You look like you were thinking.
I was.
About?
My father. He would have liked you.
No, he wouldn't.
He would have respected you. That's better.
You smile more now.
I'm not smiling.
You are. In your eyes.
Cassian.
Hmm.
Do you ever regret it? Letting me walk into your house that night?
Losing to you is the biggest gamble I ever won.
Outside, the wind moved through the trees. I picked up the coffee. Took a sip.
He was right. I was smiling.
6 months later, I sat at the head of a long mahogany table. The Moretti DeLuca council filled the chairs around me. Victor to my right, captains from both families, men who'd bled for their names, who'd spent decades following fathers and grandfathers.
The Albanians want a meeting. They're nervous about the merger.
Let them be nervous. Nervous people make careful decisions. Careful decisions keep us all breathing. Murmurs of agreement. One of the older Moretti captains, Franco, who'd served my father for 30 years, cleared his throat.
Don Siena, about the Genovese
I
arrangement.
looked at him. Not Don Siena. Just Don. Cassian stayed behind.
You know what I thought the first time I saw you?
Standing in your reception hall in an engagement dress?
Before that. 2 years ago. The D'Angelo funeral. You stood by your father, but you watched everything. Everyone. I thought that woman sees more than she lets on.
And?
And I was right. Losing to you is the biggest gamble I ever won. I said that.
You did.
I meant it more than anything I've ever said.
Cassian.
Hmm.
Thank you for seeing me.